EU5 has an overcorrection problem. We've seen this since the release of the game, where Paradox overcorrects things they view as problems. It started with levies and regulars. In the initial versions, levies were quite competent and could compete with regulars, so they were nerfed into the ground, and now they die by the hundreds of thousands when up against regular armies. Then we had centralization and decentralization. Centralization was really just flat out better and had no downsides, so they nerfed it to the point where going centralization is pretty poor, at least in the early game, and really it's beneficial to just stay decentralized for the whole game. And now we see it again here with free subject versus serfdom. Before, free subjects were quite a bit better than serfdom, mainly due to their prosperity bonus. Now, not only has serfdom been buffed, but free subjects has also been heavily nerfed. At this point, in fact, staying in the direct middle, that being staying at 0 for free subjects and serfdom, is actually better than going heavily into free subject. Let's take a little look at the numbers here. In previous patches, free subjects reduced the max tax for the peasantry and provided a monthly prosperity bonus. This was one of the biggest monthly prosperity bonuses in the game. That is now gone in the newest patch. Now, free subjects decreases the satisfaction equilibrium of the nobles while increasing the peasants' estate satisfaction and giving increasing peasant enfranchisement. The problem is, by reducing the happiness of the nobles, this indirectly strengthens them. Why? Because in order to keep your nobles happy, you'll need to hand out more privileges with free subjects to make the nobles happy, which creates a roundabout effect where if you go free subjects, you have to buff the nobles. And on the flip side, increasing happiness for the peasants isn't that valuable because it's quite easy to keep them happy. Not listed here is actually quite a heavy nerf to pop promotion speed, whereas before, in the previous patches, pop promotion speed scaled with control. So increasing your pop promotion speed across the board was very helpful for increasing the rate of pops promoting across your country. But now, control has no effect on pop promotion speed, meaning there's no real need for this extra 100% pop promotion speed that free subjects provides, because even your lowest control, 0 control locations, the pops there are going to promote at the same speed as your 100% location. So sure, 100% promotion speed is nice, but it's not vital like it was in previous patches, where in low control locations, pop promotion speed was so low, it would take hundreds of years to happen. The only real buff that free subjects now provides is this peasant enfranchisement buff. But as I said, due to the fact free subjects now decreases the happiness of the nobles, you'll need to give them more privileges, which will likely decrease peasant enfranchisement in order to compensate for the negatives. As I said, now it's kind of better to just stay in the center between serfdom and free subjects. That way you don't suffer the negatives of going free subjects or the negatives from going serfdom. But this touches on a wider problem I have with EU5, where every time there's a patch or Paradox tries to change something, they just completely demolish something. They change some numbers and they just completely destroy something, like levies versus regulars, like centralization versus decentralization, now like free subjects versus serfdom, and also like plutocratic versus autocratic. In this most recent patch, plutocratic has lost one of its main benefits, that being that it increases the amount of burghers in your cities and towns based on the population of the town. Now it no longer provides it. In fact, looking at plutocratic now, it feels pretty sparse, only giving an increase to burgher power, a slight increase to trade efficiency, and a slight decrease to the cost of court. Why would you ever go for plutocratic now? There's no real benefit. Whereas before, because you could massively increase your burgher population via plutocratic, it was very helpful in jump-starting the burgher economy and helping strengthen your burgher estate. That 50% power modifier simply isn't enough alone to make the burghers really impactful versus the nobles. In fact, that 50% power bonus is basically just the equivalent of one noble privilege. And personally, I don't think it needs to be this way. I don't think societal values or other things need to be perfectly balanced. The way I would prefer it is if there were benefits to either. There should be benefits to staying serfdom, there should be benefits to going free subject, and which you pick should vary based on your play style, the nation you're playing, and what you want to do with your nation. It shouldn't be that there's just flat out better option or an inferior option. I would prefer it if both options had utility. That it wasn't just a flat out one is better and the other is worse. But every time the community finds one of these options and says, this one's better, Paradox just seems to come in and destroy it, which I don't think we need to do. We don't really need one of the options to be better or worse. We don't even need them to be perfectly balanced. We just need them both to have utility and a place within the systems. In fact, one thing that I've seen people mentioning that I think could work is the fact that most nations start with high serfdom, high autocracy, and high decentralization. So it would be fair to make those modifiers weaker and make the opposite modifier stronger, since the player has to actively push towards the opposite modifier. The main way they could make staying on those inferior modifiers viable would be by making pushing harder. One of the things that in the game right now is that pushing towards a societal value is pretty easy. There's no real pushback from inside your nation. There's no real negative modifiers from doing so. Even if you start at 100% serfdom and you push all the way to free subjects, it doesn't really change anything. Sure, it applies this noble estate satisfaction equilibrium malice, but the nobles aren't going to really care. No one else in your country is really going to care that peasants are now free. There's not going to be any events about landowners rebelling against the idea of serfdoms being abolished. Really, nobody really cares. So one of the ways they could represent it is by making it harder to push towards these values, either by having revolts, having event chains, maybe even having disasters based on your nation, breaking essentially its power structure in order to transition to a new and superior form of government. That way it would be more of a choice. You might have a better, stronger societal value, but the cost of pushing to it would be so great that maybe you'll hold off. Maybe you'll say, I don't think I can handle the large scale revolts and negative events that I would need to go through to get free subject up. And then so you might hold off for an era or two until you're in a better, more stable situation where you can say, okay, now I can stomach those negatives to reach those better positives, because that would make it more of a choice. One of the problems I have with the societal system right now is it's not much of a choice. There's usually just a better option, which Paradox then nerfs, and then the other option just becomes the better option. I think the priority for the societal value system should be choice. Both options should be viable, both options should provide benefits and negatives. Which option you pick should be largely based on your situation and what you need in that moment for your nation. Or we should go the opposite way and make one side a lot better, but make getting there a lot harder. That way it feels like a real transition of your country to a newer system, instead of just pressing the push to societal cabinet action and having it just happen. For now though, this is the end of the video. I know it's a very short complainy video, but I felt like shouting into the void about it, because I don't really like how things are currently playing out with the balancing of EU5. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.